Summer bass fishing can really be a grind, but anglers often make it worse by fishing in the wrong part of the water column and with the wrong types of lures and presentations. Today, we're going to look at a bait that works so well for when those fish are pushed up higher in the water column, and it doesn't matter if they're shallow, it doesn't matter if they're out deep, it catches plenty of fish. Well, what is it? Well, stick around. We're going to talk all about it. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And one of the biggest consequences of fishing during the summer is those lakes and fisheries are really beginning to heat up all across the country. The big lake, the water temperature is in the upper 90s. Now what happens is something called the thermocline, which is a stratification or layering of the water column. We have a hard defined edge. Below that, the water's cool but poor in oxygen. Above that, the water's much warmer but rich in oxygen. As a result, most of the aquatic life is going to be in that upper layer, including the bass and all their prey species. Now we're going to take a look at how I'm targeting that and using it to my advantage, because summer fishing a lot of times is counterintuitive. We think about deep diving crankbaits, we think about drop shots, we think about fishing big summer jigs, but a lot of that is fishing in a dead zone. There's no fish in there. I'm going to show you when the thermocline is best to fish and some of the best lures that I'm using to target it. But before we get started, if you like what I'm doing here, click that subscribe button and join this community. We'd love to have you here. Also, while you're down there, give this video a like. I would really appreciate it. And hey, if you haven't yet, head on over to patreon.com and check out my page. The link's going to be in the description and in the pinned comment. It's a place where we can interact on a more personal level. I post updates about my old boat, what I've broken, what I'm fixing, and I do polls where you guys can choose what videos I'm doing, as well as other things. So check it out. I think you're going to like it. So how to fish the thermocline, what baits I'm using, and how it really does affect August bass fishing all across the country. Well, I'm going to start with a story, and trust me, it really does pertain to what we're talking about here. See, the other day, I was putting the boat in the water there at the big lake, and there was another gentleman taking his boat out of the water. And his boat was a lot nicer than mine. He had a beautiful, gorgeous Bass Cat, 21-foot boat, big old 250 Yamaha SHO in the back, power poles, a Lowrance Ghost trolling motor, all the screens, all the forward-facing sonar. He had it all tricked out. And he looked at me and he said, "Getting a late start, aren't you?" And I said, "No." I said, "This was on purpose. This is how I always go." He said, "No, you got to get out here early if you want to catch these bass." And I said, "Well, how'd you do today?" He said, "Well, I caught one." I said, "You caught one?" I said, "What time did you get out here?" He said, "I've been out here since about 4:30. I said, "You've been out here over 5 hours and you managed to catch one bass and you're telling me that I'm doing it wrong." He said, "Well, if I only caught one, you ain't got no chance. You're not going to catch anything." Well, I went out and I proceeded to catch 8 bass that particular day, fishing exactly how I'm about to tell you that I'm doing it and the bait that I'm using, because it's so simple. It's a great bait. Now, you can use other variations on this, but this is exactly what I was using and how I was targeting it. And I was just using a good old jerkbait. Now, I've talked about this before, but we're going to break down exactly why I'm using this and why it works so well. And it does not matter if I'm fishing offshore in deep water or if I'm fishing close to the bank. I'm finding those bass in the same part of the water column, between 5 to 10 feet. That's it. Doesn't matter if I'm within one cast of the bank or if I'm way out in the middle in 30 feet of water. Those bass are in this same part of the water column. And the reason being for that is the thermocline is pretty even. I mean, it doesn't go up and go down. It doesn't stagger. It's pretty even. It's like say when you see water and oil separate, right? It's a pretty even layer. Well, that warm water and that cold water separate because of density. So it's a pretty even layer everywhere that you're going to find it. So these baits and these techniques work everywhere that I try to use them. And the thing about it is, during the day, those bass are super, super active. The past few videos we've been talking about, we've talked about how active those bass are, how they're busting and chasing those bait in that shallow water, which helps them because the bait's not going to go below that thermocline. It allows me to use that jerk bait as a mimic to those small minnows and really get some of those bass fired up. So using the jerk bait, what am I doing? Well, I just fire it out there, crank it down, and then I let it sit for a second. And you guys know me. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I work a jerk bait on a spinning setup, and I work it very, very fast. This is what I use. I get a lot of heat for it. People say, well, you're not doing it how I do it, so you must be doing it wrong. Well, if I'm catching fish, is that wrong? I mean, I catch a lot of fish on a jerkbait, so is that wrong? Somebody needs to tell the bass that I'm doing it wrong so they'll stop biting it the way that I'm doing it. But I'm using this on a 7-foot medium light. And this is on a spinning combo with 10-pound braid. I've got an 8-pound co-poly leaders, my favorite setup. I use this finesse setup for a lot of things. Wacky rigs, Waco rigs, floating worms, name it. If it's a finesse setup, I'm usually using this setup pretty good. But unfortunately, one of those days where my chest camera didn't work. So I thought it was on. I'm out there talking like a complete idiot. I'm spouting all this great stuff about how I'm working this bait, where I'm working this bait. You can't hear any of it because my chest camera's not on. Fortunately, I've gotten to where I use a back camera on my boat now. I've lost a lot of big fish catches over the years simply because that little camera that I use, it'll shut off randomly, and I don't know why. And it doesn't make any sound, so I have no idea that it's doing it. Battery's charged, battery's full, but it just does that. And the day that I was using that jerkbait extensively, of course the camera shut off on me, and I never knew it was off. However, fortunately, I was able to have the back camera going, and well, this is what I recorded. Well, I just caught a fish. I got all of it on the back camera. Nice, nice fish. Whew. I'm not keeping him. I just want him to have a rest. Just want him to have a rest for a minute. That's a good fish. Not quite 2 pounds. Just want to make sure he's doing okay, which he is. All right. Come on. Come here. Come here. I got you. I got you. All right. Appreciate it, dude. Oops. I got myself. All right. Nice, gorgeous. Thank you so much. I sure do appreciate you. Thank you. There he goes. Right down to the depths. All right. So not a lot of talking in the first part, but you saw that I put it in the live well just because I didn't want to stress that bass out anymore. But it was a fun catch. And that's how I've been doing a lot of my catching. Those bass have been Going down a little bit more in the water column, sure, they're busting on the surface, and those small topwaters I've been talking about, the head and torpedoes, the small poppers, whatnot, are still very much players. But that jerkbait, that's the trick. I can cast this like a missile, and I can get those fish to just really trigger off on this, and it works every single time. Now, this jerkbait right here, this is just a KVD 200. It's in that chrome color, but it's pretty chewed up. I've had this one for a while. You guys know, if you've watched these videos before, you guys know that I really do like this jerkbait. It's one of my favorites. And I was using it even though we had bluebird skies, even though there was not a lot of wind, because that water was very, very stained. There was maybe 6 inches of visibility because of all the rain that we've had. Now, if I have more clear water, if I'm working something maybe a little bit more clear, some shallow water where I can have a few feet of visibility, then I'm going to be going to this. This is also a KVD 200, but it's in a more realistic shad pattern. And this works for me whenever that water is a bit more clear. I can catch a lot of fish doing the same thing. I see those bass, and they are really busting and boiling and moving water as they're chasing those small bait fish. I see that, I fire that in there, and I'm telling you what, I get hookup after hookup using that technique, because that thermocline acts as a barrier. It pushes those bass up and it keeps them there. So I don't have to have, even in 30 feet of water, I don't have to have a deep bait. This goes maybe 3 to 5 feet, depending on the line and how I work it. But those bass are sitting at about 5 to 10 feet, so this is still right in their area, and they're feeding up on those small bait fish anyway, so trust me. Now, another bait that's been working well for me is this H2OX jerkbait. This is a more full-size one. This has got the 3 hooks on it. Again, this is chrome because we've got a lot of stain in the water. But just the other day, when I saw those bass busting and I saw them swirling everywhere, I was able to fire this guy in there and catch a really nice bass doing that. And it's always the same way I'm working a jerkbait. I fire it out there, I crank it down, let it sit for a second, and then I start working it pretty quick. Twitch, 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 twitch. I really don't like to put pauses in there more than maybe a second or two, just long enough for those bass to focus on that bait and strike it. And the only reason why I put the pauses in there is because a lot of times I will foul hook it, because that bait's going side to side, the bass miss, and it foul hooks them on the outside, and I'm trying not to do that. I found that by putting a little pause in there, about a second or 2 seconds, that's all you need, that really helps. It gives the bass the ability to get that bait in its mouth rather than outside, because I don't like hooking bass in the eyeball. It bothers me. Now, if I've got some clear water and I want to fish just a little bit deeper or something just a little bit different, I'm going with this Yozuri 3DB. This is another amazing jerkbait that I have caught so many fish on. Again, this goes down into that 5 to 7 foot depth, so I don't need to worry about going much deeper, and I fire it right in there where those bass are. I'm not searching for the bass. They're showing me that they are there. I don't have to bring out any baits to cover water, no search baits. I can see the bass are there. I can see them busting, and they are busting up everywhere across the big lake. I just wait patiently until where I see them in my area, in my range, where I can make it to them in one cast. Sling that dude out there, crank it down, and let it start working. And I'm telling you what, you will be rewarded. And I've done that from the bank. I did it from the bank for years. As a matter of fact, I was doing that with a jerkbait from the bank way before I started using topwater to do it. It's a technique I've been doing for a long time, and I continue to do it simply because of how effective it is. So there you have it. When the water really heats up and that thermocline sets in, a jerkbait is the perfect tool for the job. It targets the right part of the water column, and it mimics what those bass are already feeding on. You don't have to have fancy forward-facing sonar. All you need are your forward-facing sunglasses. You do that, and I'm telling you what, you're going to catch a lot of fish. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.